this weekend. Josh McDaniels, we talked yesterday a lot about the whole Derek Carr situation. I'll speak for myself, Kyle. I know initially my reaction, which I shared on the air here, was, wow, this is just the general manager and the coach there, Josh McDaniels, and they're just making Derek Carr scapegoat. They're making it clear that this wasn't our fault, but there was some excellent reporting, no surprise, by Vic Tafur on the whole thing. Vic Tafur in The Athletic says that it appears Josh McDaniels and the GM were leaning towards having Derek Carr play the rest of the year. They were leaning in that direction. But that Mark Davis, the owner, has just had it with Derek Carr. And that ownership decided he's not our guy. We don't want him playing anymore. And then once they made that decision that they're going to move off of him, they didn't want him playing because if he got hurt in one of these last 2 games, then his contract would be guaranteed. So it looks like it was Mark Davis going, nope, I'm done with Derek Carr. And the coaches were the coach, and he was like, yeah, probably, we still have a shot at the playoffs. We might as well play him. Although I'm sure he's fine with Stidham getting a shot here. So it's not the coach making Derek Carr a scapegoat.
I love that Mark Davis did that. Like, he wants his team to win. He's watched Derek Carr for, 8 seasons now, 9 seasons now. And he's just like, we're done here. Pull the plug.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with it.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but Vic Tafur reported that when Josh McDaniels first met with the Raiders, the brass front office, he was probably very surprised. This is before he even took the job. He was probably very surprised at all the nasty things he heard about Derek Carr from inside the building.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Hey, sorry about your quarterback situation. This guy sucks.
Yeah, you got, our
Good
quarterback.
Luck, Josh.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated that.
So it looks like maybe a little bit of dysfunction there in Vegas.
Devontae Adams, if I'm him, I'm furious because Green Bay offered him a deal. Green Bay offered him a massive contract. And he just went, nope, want to change the scenery. I'm going to go play with my guy, Derek. And now he's in Las Vegas with Jarrett Stidham. I would be really, really mad.
I think Derek Carr has stated publicly, he's the type of guy, if he says something, he will feel like, that's what I said. I got to back it up. I don't know. But he said, if I ever left the Raiders, I wouldn't play anymore. That's hard to imagine. But he has said that.
He's, okay. If I ever but I think he probably meant on his own accord.
Maybe so.
Like, I'm not going to leave the Raiders to go play somewhere else. If I'm leaving the Raiders, it's because I'm retiring.
Right.
He's not leaving money on the table. There's money out there for him.
So you think this is a near must win for the 49ers? Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said something. You said something, not on the air. Pardon me for sharing something you said off the
that's
air.
Why, no, that makes me mad, but that's fine. No, go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, but you said you feel like this is, if not a must-win, a vitally important game for them.
Yeah, not even. God, that's.
You didn't say that?
That's what I'm having a hard time articulating, because I don't think that they're in the playoffs. They're minimum the number 3 seed. They're in a great spot. They have built up so much momentum. They've won 8 in a row. They are playing arguably the best football in the NFL right now. They have the best defense in the league. But it feels like if they go into Vegas and they lose to Jarrett Stidham and the Raiders, who are one of the worst defenses in the league.
That's not happening.
Jarrett Stidham, I don't think so. And that's the thing, though, is it shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. But if they do, I think it will reflect there will be some larger issue that gets exposed. And that's what I'm like. They need to go win by a lot and just continue. Again, their season's not over if they lose, because weird stuff happens in the NFL. But man, this would be a really bad one to drop.
Let me see
if you lose to Arizona, it's a division game, last game of the year. You're looking forward to the play. Okay, maybe a little bit of a trap game. But this game, there's just not an excuse.
What I hear you saying, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, is that if you lost this game, the loss in and of itself wouldn't necessarily be damaging. But if you lose this game, that would be a sign that there are other issues that could impact you down the road as you try to pursue what I call the Lombardi Trophy.
Just handing out names for it now. You should probably run that by somebody before. No, because I don't think there's a path. When I try and draw the path to, I am naturally a pessimistic sports fan. I am very naturally like, okay, let me look at everything. Okay, logically, the 49ers should beat the Raiders by 50.
You know what that is? Seriously, that's a defense mechanism because you're trying to prepare yourself
Probably.
for the letdown that all sports fans feel, and some of us deal with it better than others.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're right. But then I look and I go, okay, how could this go wrong? And the only path I can draw to this going wrong for the 49ers is that cliff we talked about, like with Brock Purdy. Like that cliff happens.
Wait, there's a Cliff Purdy too?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's like Cliff Paul, but Cliff Purdy.
Okay.
No. He sells insurance. No, but that drop off that we talked about, like, I just don't see how it could happen. Like, of course it could.
Turns out he is the guy that all the scouts thought he was.
Right. Like, if the Niners lose, it's because something like that happened. That's the only path I can draw. So that's why I think, hey, just go play well. Just if they play a C game, they're winning by multiple scores.
Mm-hmm.
That's and it, like I said, it may not matter because maybe Jarrett Stidham just doesn't score and the Niners can win no matter what.
Do you know what the line is now, by the way? And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Last one I saw was 9.5.
Okay. And it wasn't it 6.5 at one point?
6.5.
Wow. Should have jumped on that. Speaking of Josh McDaniels and the 49ers, this is from your friend Chris Biederman. He wrote this in January of 2017. I know you do the Candlestick Chronicles with Chris. Chris wasn't the only one reporting this at the time, but this happens to be his story. January 16th, 2017. New England Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels is withdrawing his name from consideration to fill the San Francisco 49ers coaching vacancy, according to a report from NFL Media. And the story goes on to say, major development in San Francisco's search to replace the recently fired Chip Kelly. McDaniels was considered the favorite to land the 49ers coaching job. A report surfaced that McDaniels was conflicted about leaving the Patriots. Also, it appeared that maybe he was a little unsure about how unstable the 49ers had been over the last several seasons. So now McDaniels' withdrawal means the only remaining known candidates for San Francisco are Kyle Shanahan and Tom Cable. I think Tom Cable removed his name from consideration. So Kyle Shanahan has the job in part because Josh McDaniels decided, I don't think so. How about that?
Yeah, he also did that in 2011. Mike Sando reported, and this is from January 6th, 2011. Mike Sando reported ex-Broncos head coach Josh McDaniels not interested in the 49ers head coaching position, reportedly not fond of the talent in San Francisco. That was in 2011.
So that was the one that Harbaugh
yes.
when it came in and said, man, there's a lot of talent here, and we're going to the NFC title game.
So Josh McDaniels goes to Denver, has that little run with Tim Tebow, and then is just a disaster after that. What, he finished like 6-21 or something after that first year? It's just a mess. Goes back to New England, spurns the Niners, spurns them again in 17, took the Colts job. I think that was after that. It might have been the year before, but I think it was the year after. Took the Colts job, was like, I'll be the coach, and then was like, never mind. I'm going back to New England. And then finally decides, like, okay, I'm going to go be a head coach again. I'm going to give this a shot. And goes to the Raiders despite there being questions about the quarterback from inside the building.
And apparently it wasn't even, questions about him inside the building. Like, well, we don't know about that guy. It was like, we can't stand this guy. Our quarterback that you'd be coaching. Yeah. Good luck with him. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me see what I can do.
Maybe that's why he took the job. There was some assurance of like, hey, no matter what, your first year, you'll have time to figure it out because we're done with Derek Carr.
Yeah. Now, the 2011 thing, I don't remember that. So it's interesting to look back on that. It must have been Josh McDaniels looking at that team that, as we know, 2011, and I remember making fun of how bad they were going to be. And I was like, whoa, wow, they're really good. But, from his perspective, he looked at that team and said, wait a minute, Alex Smith is the quarterback? I don't think I want to hitch my wagon to that, right?
And remember,
that's how almost purely he was looking at it.
Remember, I have another quick nugget on the 2011 thing after this, but they didn't even have a quarterback. Alex Smith was gone. The only reason he came back
that's right,
is because of the lockout. And they were like, hey, we
You're
need
right.
someone that knows the team. Like, can you come back? And so he signed that 1-year deal.
And people were outraged. You're right.
Yeah.
I remember Jed York was on that show on NBC Sports Bay Area that they ran in the After Chronicle Live or whatever it was. And he was sitting there and he was like, and it might have been Yahoo Live at that point, but he was like, yes, we think Alex Smith is the guy. And people were like, well, you think what? You're out of your mind.
Yeah. And remember there was that like brief grace period where they could talk to the team. And so they gave him a playbook and he went and ran Camp Alex down at San Jose State or whatever. He was supposed to be the stopgap for 1 year. And then Kaepernick was going to come in and be the guy in 2012. But he played so well in 2011, Alex Smith did. It was like, okay, bring him back, I guess. That's how that. So when Josh McDaniels turned it down, it was like, not only are they coming off a bad 2010 season, they're not even going to have a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so.
Pass. Yeah.
This article that I pulled up from 2011 also says the 49ers may have lost out on Stanford's Jim Harbaugh as the Miami Dolphins have stepped in and become the front runners to sign Harbaugh. It was reported that the 49ers offered Harbaugh $5 million annually and that the Dolphins have exceeded the 49ers offer.
Yeah, I remember that too. Do you remember who was the self-proclaimed dream team that year during the lockout?
Eagles.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Well, they got Vince Young and Nnamdi Asomugha in free agency, and they were like,
Ronnie Brown
we're
and
a
Mike
dream
Vick.
team.
Yeah, man.
Uh-huh.
And then the Niners went into Philly and won that year. That was when everything turned around.
Justin Smith forced a fumble.
Yeah, on Jeremy Maclin, the receiver, like down the field at the end of the game. Deshaun Goldson dies on it. The play in that game that was Ronnie Brown. Remember this? The Eagles were going in to score. They were up a bunch, like 20 or 21 or something like that.
At that point, we thought the 49ers were still probably terrible.
Probably bad. Yeah, they'd won a couple, but it wasn't. Ronnie Brown's going into the end zone to kind of like put the game out of reach. Turns his back to the end zone, isn't going to get in, and just pitches it over his head. And the Niners recovered it. It was such a bizarre. It was like he was trying to throw it so it would be an incomplete pass, so he didn't like lose a guy. The weirdest, second weirdest play next to that Raiders-Patriots one. Second weirdest play I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, but then the Niners came back and they won that game. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal.
Yeah. So isn't it funny to look at the way these things have worked out, and the 49ers wanted Josh McDaniels, like, oh, Kyle Shanahan should work out, and he's been a great coach. He's done a great job. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way this year, and I know people don't like the way he's handled this player or that player or the quarterback situation. Kyle Shanahan, no matter what happens the rest of this year, has done a great job as head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. They are relevant again. They've been relevant the last 4 years, and they were wandering in the wilderness. They were awful before he got there. It's not just him, but as a head coach, he deserves a huge share of the credit.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Is he perfect? No. Are there I think he's too conservative sometimes with his fourth down calls. I think some of his play calls are head scratching, both in the red zone and in just kind of like short yardage situations. But there's never been a time where it's like, oh, the 49ers packed it in for the year. They quit. Even 2020, that year that Jimmy was hurt and then he came back too early and then he got hurt again.
You're right.
They were in the playoff race. They ended up getting waxed by Dallas, but I think that was week 14 or 15, and they were still in the playoff race that late in the season.
They got red rifled, I think. Didn't they? Didn't Andy Dalton beat him in that game?
Was it Andy Dalton?
I think it was.
Oh my God. Yikes.
Yeah.
I just remember the Niners tried an onside kick late, and I think it was CeeDee Lamb grabbed it and ran it in for a touchdown.
And then that horrible loss to Washington where Nick Mullins was just like, what?
And
is
Alex
he really
Smith,
left-handed maybe?
Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins both played,
Yeah.
And the Niners, I think Washington scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
But to your point, even through that, they played hard. Some of that is, wow, the players, they're just playing hard, but they have responded to Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, and that's always been pretty clear. Like the only real disaster year was 18. Because even 2017, they start 1-10, but that team stunk. The roster is a mess. But then Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, they win their last 5, and it's like, okay, they got a little something going. But then 2018 was just but even that, we mentioned this yesterday, the Niners 2018 season was a catastrophe, and it landed them Nick Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
So their worst season under Kyle Shanahan, record-wise, wound up getting them the defensive player of the year, who's now the tip of this spear that is driving them to the playoffs.
I have to say this about the Raiders. I know a lot of Raider fans, and I'm very fond. I have friends who are Raider fans. I know Joe Spadoni is a great Raider fan, and I wish no ill will towards any Raider fans. Raider fans were some of the most beleaguered fans. They deserve so much more. They were so underserved by this team in the last few years when the team was here. But given that the Raiders packed up and left Oakland, I hope they lose every game they ever play. And I delight not in the misery of Raider fans. That's really sad.
What a loser.
I delight in the massive dysfunction right now that is the Las Vegas Raiders. You asked for this. Suck it. It's awful what they did.
I hope that was clean. You asked for this, suck it. I hope I didn't laugh over it.
I'm sorry. That was part of my childhood. And I'm not a huge Raider fan. I can't pretend that they meant so much to me like it did to so many fans. But just up and leaving like that.
Yeah, that sucked. And shout out to my friends that are Raider fans and anybody who's listening who's a Raider fan who has just remained a Raider fan. Because that takes a level of devotion that I don't know that I have. And I know there are people who feel like that about the Niners just going to Santa Clara. Like leaving San Francisco to go to Santa Clara. I know there are people who are like, screw them.
I know. Yeah.
And so be it. But going from Oakland to LA and then back to Oakland and now to Vegas, it's just, go to heck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I want to see my friends who are Raider fans happy. My dad's a big Raider fan.
I do too.
But
I was so happy for Raider fans when they pulled off that miracle, the Sin City miracle. But still. Yeah. I still hope they lose every game forever and ever.
Yeah, just just for ownership. Like I want this move to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm. Mark Davis clearly has to recognize, I don't know what I'm doing. I wish I did. My dad certainly knew what he was doing, and I learned a little bit from him, but I don't know what I'm doing, and I really need to hitch my wagon to somebody who knows what they're doing, and I need to let them do it. That's the only way out of this. The only way, and he's not smart enough to know that.
I feel like Reggie McKenzie got hosed.
Yeah.
That's one of the, when they brought in Gruden and Mayock, that was one of the, bring Reggie McKenzie back, get an adult in the building.